Yeah? Okay, cool. Hey, I'm Akela. I lead the customer success engineering team at Rasa. So basically, I work a lot with our enterprise customers and also our community. So I deal with a lot of community support as well. So you all might know me from GitHub or the forum. And yeah, in this panel, we'll be talking about building level 3 assistants in the enterprise. So yeah, maybe let's start with a quick round of introductions here. So Angel, do you want?
Hi, everyone. My name is Angel Castro. I work for Deutsche Telekom since January 2018 as a senior software developer for speech technologies and natural language processing. Our involvement with Rasa, we were, I guess, one of your first customers, like 3 years ago in Berlin. And ever since, we've been able to work together and see how the community grows, the software grows. And very happy and pleased and humble to be here.
Hi, my name is Andy Vadul. As you can see, I'm the techie guy at USEReady. We fell in love with Rasa about 1.5 years ago when we were trying to solve a problem for one of our clients. And we were looking at open source solutions which would do NLU, and Rasa popped up and continued to pop up at the top of our list. And we are in love ever since. So I lead a team of engineers inside USEReady, and we crack the hardest problems trying to integrate business intelligence and AI for our customers. That's our pedigree. We're pretty much in New York. We have offices in New York, New Jersey, Toronto, and a big office in India. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Charles Franklin. I'm a senior application developer at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, a health insurance company. And we've been working with Rasa for about 1.5 years or a little bit over that now to build a member-facing chatbot. And excited to talk to everyone here today.
Awesome. Yeah, so could you all tell us a bit more about what kind of bots you're building, the use case, and so on? So, Charles, do you want to?
Yeah, so like I said, we built a member-facing chatbot. So it is a authenticated experience. Once the user is logged in, they have access to the chatbot to have a personalized chat experience. And they can ask questions from where are my claims, or I want to see my claims, and that takes them through a process to drill down to a specific claim, and we can get them directly to that claim using deep links directly into the member portal application. So we can answer questions from that to another question is, now we're going into more of a bill payment, premium payment. So we're looking to add that before the end of the year. So that's kind of the next step for us with our member-facing bot.
Fantastic. We have a couple of use cases where we have employed Rasa. And most of the cases are level 3 assistants. And we didn't get to level 3 from day one. We started off with level 2 assistants where it was mostly a FAQ. Frequently asked questions which would direct them to a link or to a payment page or say, here's the agenda. Users are then authenticated. That's when the start of the level 3 happens. And once we get the context of the user, we know what they're asking, and we pretty much can understand what they're trying to ask. And that's where our start of the level 3 process came. 3 specific use cases. First case is standard, started off with a FAQ and eventually became a training guide saying, hey, I've taken this course. What other courses would you recommend? And based on the group that they are in and what they have actually taken, we'd guide them to, hey, this is the course that you need to take. This is when the next course is. Right? The other is more on what we call as skill belts, adoption of skill belts. So let's say somebody has got a particular level of training. What is the next challenge that they need to go to build up their stack? So essentially, very similar to telling them what the next training is, giving them an exercise, saying, hey, this is what it is. Third one is more about giving me, let's say, a state of my business. What is my exposure today from a risk manager's perspective on the financial side? We know the person is a risk manager. We know they're from the financial perspective. And we know what their portfolio is. And based on that, we go connect to Tableau. And how many of you have used Tableau before or have heard of Tableau? I see some hands around the room. So we've integrated with Tableau to bring back their dashboard with their context to actually bring it up as a chat answer to their screen. So 3 separate examples.
Cool.
Yeah, I wish I would have them categorized pretty broadly as you have, but through this, over the span of 5 years at Deutsche Telekom, we've deployed dozens of chatbots, so in very different set of flavors and technologies and for different use cases. So quite recently, ever since starting our involvement with Rasa, it's mostly towards the service support and hotline, like yeah, this kind of customer support, but mostly for internal use. But as well, we have a couple facing end customers.
Cool. Yeah, those are all a bunch of really different and interesting use cases. So I'm curious, what made you first decide to invest into building bots? Like, what is the business value for you there? Andy, if you want to go first.
The biggest business, we are in the value of being ready for the users. And that's why our goal is user ready anyway, right? So when you solve a user problem, you can take them to the last mile. And there are a lot of tools that solve that last mile problem. In the end, it's the last couple of feet that actually make a difference whether you went through the last mile or not. That's where Rasa played a very important part. We can build a pretty dashboard. We could put a nice BI case together. But how do you put it in front of the user when they're sitting, let's say, at their home, and they have a handheld, and they don't want to get up and take that iPad or sit in front of a screen and log onto a machine? Mm-hmm. That is where Rasa turned the trick for us, and that's why we've been using Rasa for the last couple of inches or couple of feet to solve the problem.
Cool. Yeah, Charles?
Yeah, for us, our team, we kind of, I know in a business-focused environment, a lot of times the business will come to you to solve an issue, but this was kind of an issue that they really didn't know that they had. So we took maybe about a 2 or 3 month period to develop a POC, and then we demoed that to our business partners, and that kind of got everybody excited. And from that point on, we were kind of researching different chatbot frameworks to bring this to life. And we finally landed on Rasa, one, because we could house everything in-house, being that it's a health insurance company. We didn't want to have to deal with any cloud-based things that may have some HIPAA regulations or things that we need to get through. So Rasa we could house in-house, and plus it was open source. So that really drove the decision there for us. And then back to the business excitement for it, they wanted a chatbot. They didn't exactly know how this was going to function, right? So because it was a member-facing chatbot, we already have a member portal. Once the user logs in, they can see all their information. We're not trying to rebuild the member portal in a chatbot. So, we kind of had to work together with our business partners to say, this is kind of how we should do this in a more conversational way instead of showing pictures and files and things like that. Let's make it a chatbot instead of rebuilding our member portal experience within a chat framework. So.
Cool.
Yeah, well, honestly, I can have a controversial take on this aspect because, it's very insightful to see that you have very defined business use cases in different sectors, whereas in our case, after quite a long experience of different POCs within internal companies, internal teams, we came to the realization that the first question we should definitely ask every time people within our branch or external come to talk to us, hey, we want to build a chatbot, we first need to sort of push the brakes and say, like, okay, why? So do you have a clear, concrete business use case that it actually you will be able to monitor and to see the progression? Because, technology-wise, yeah, we've got it covered. Rasa got us covered. But, and you can create it, and I'm sure that you could put all the value in the customer experience. You have great designers, great domain knowledge. But if there is not this particular very clear business use case that will actually map into something that you could meter and monitor and say, like, okay, why am I investing so much? And in the previous talk, one of the challenges mentioned there was how to measure return of investment. And that's absolutely a challenge, I guess, throughout this whole chatbot hype. And I guess that the clearest answer we've come to is that unless you actually have something that you already have a business use case for it and can easily translate into a chatbot, then you really don't need a chatbot.
Yeah. And so with all these, because a lot of your bots are customer facing, so I guess, do they also take off the load from your customer support team?
Oh yeah, definitely. One of the selling points actually was to kind of find out the top 10 questions that our users ask customer service representatives when they call in, and try to tackle that in the bot, which we've been able to do. So that, I don't know exact metrics, somebody else on the business side has all of that, but we have been given good feedback from our business, saying that this has really been helpful for the company and helping our customers.
Yeah. I have a story. We were actually pulled into a pharmaceutical company, and they said, the BI team there said, this guy is moving on and taking a new role. And this person who was taking on that new role was probably the person to talk to from the field agent perspective. They'll pick up the phone, they call him, and they say, hey, this is my so-and-so name, and this is who I need, and these are the list of client contact lists and what is happening here. And they had built a dashboard, but the agents in the field couldn't access that. So they would just pick up the phone and you do what agents do best, whatever is the fastest way to the problem. Since this person was moving, they said, hey, let's put a FAQ together. Whatever he had as the list of 10 questions, along with the nuances for those questions, we started off with that. And that led us into building the Rasa stack and the training and all of that. It took us a year to actually get it completely ready, but we saw an immediate impact for the rest of the team. They didn't have to fend off all those questions which were repetitive. No. Right? Eventually, the person moved on, he's got a happier life, but the rest of the team also are happy because Rasa is there to actually help them.
Yeah. Well, in our case, I mean, again, piggy riding on the previous slides from N26, where it showed 50% data science, 50% content creator. Yes. For us, it was more like 80% content creator and 20% data science. So the bottleneck was in like, how do we transgress from teaching people with lots of experience, and I'm talking decades in customer support, how to best translate this knowledge without having to go through a crash course of machine learning, intense entities, all that stuff. And yeah, so that's kind of the bridging that gap. It's been quite a challenging, but that's where so our perspective from Deutsche Telekom is like, okay, we don't want to create a chatbot so that these people are actually out of a job or something like that. It's more like, okay, if you actually automate the tedious tasks, then they get more time to solve and to actually get the differentiator factor and to be more motivated to solve a particular query without like, okay, I've solved 100 times this thing during the course of this hour, so I'm just fed up with this, just restart your router and be done with it. So things like that, and that's why it's very complementary, the domain knowledge with the technology.
Awesome. And so building these bots over the past year or more, what are some of the main challenges you've run into, and how have you overcome them?
I would say, well, a couple of them. One being the learning curve. We're a Java development shop, so that's kind of where we started from. When we started with Rasa, I was mainly the only one creating the stories and the training data and things like that. And then anything we had to offload into an action server, we have a Java backend for that. And so the developers would take a use case and they would develop an entire method to do everything within that use case. And that's kind of still there today, which is one of the things that going forward, we want to kind of break those out into micro actions so that we can start to build some of the custom actions like N26 kind of showed. So the biggest thing was learning curve, how this thing was going to work, how much of the work we should do in our back end versus letting Rasa take over. So I think now we're at a good place there. We actually would like to bring Rasa in for kind of like a boot camp, so just to get everybody up to speed, because we still have some issues with developers thinking more deterministic, saying I've got to change all of these stories because this one is broken, so I need to fix this one, and I need to apply that fix to all of the rest of these, and that kind of mentality. And also on the business side, thinking, hey, it should do this, it should know how to do this. No, we have to teach it to do that. So it's not anything magical. So that's number one. And then number two was understanding how to build our training data, specifically our NLU model. We started with about 10 intents, FAQ type intents, and we really filled those up with a bunch of training data. And then some of some of the team members on the business side, hey, let's make this more fun. Let's put some conversational stuff in there. So we kind of had joke, intents, and questions about what's your favorite movie, what's your favorite car, which was fine, but we didn't really spend a lot of time on the NLU data for that. So when we went live, we started getting some questions, like one of the questions that came in, they said, my husband got in a car accident and broke his leg, and are we covered for leg braces? And so the bot responded with, hey, since we're in Detroit, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, we're in Detroit, it's the Motor City, we had a car, what's your favorite car intent? And it was like anything built in the Motor City. So the bot responded with, I like anything built in, any car built in the Motor City about somebody being in a car accident or breaking their leg. So we kind of had to take a step back on that. And actually with the help of Akela, it was like, hey, you got to balance out your NLU data. So that was one of the other things that
Training data is
yes.
quite important, yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was a couple of the issues that we ran into.
Yeah, and I mean, the one to be repetitive, of course, training data, the business use case, it's quite important. But one interesting challenge we had, particularly with Rasa, was the shift of paradigm, because like for good or evil, I mean, we had one particular project where our content creators were very familiarized with existing tools already in the market, talking about your dialog flows, Watsons and Lewis and all that stuff. And they were designing the same wave in the same type of patterns so that it's easier for the bot designer to just quickly connect boxes and so on and get on with it. So you don't need to have too much experience nor knowledge about it. And then here comes Rasa. It's all Python, and I'm talking to you really fresh when it started. So no platform, no fancy UI. So telling people, okay, this is a terminal, this is Python, and it's like. And most importantly, okay, we're going to take over all this part, and okay, you just give us training data, we'll handle it, that's okay. But the challenge was to break up this paradigm of the state machine that they wanted consistency, like always A, then always answer B. It's our way of being congruent and consistent with our customers. But when you experience in reality how that looks like in a real life scenario, in a real life deployed bot, where hundreds of boxes connected. Like, I mean, I have this funny story when Akela told me, like, help, I don't understand this visual. Like, I don't see where these boxes connect to each other. And so like, okay, neither do I. And then we striped them into separate stories together, and it was like super easy to just like a couple of use cases, a couple of very fixated examples that were super translatable to the actual goal of the conversation, and there you go. So it was, but like shifting this paradigm for people when they were so used to their boxes and if then else and blah blah blah, that was a huge challenge.
Yeah. How many of you wished Rasa X came out at least a couple of months earlier? Anybody? That was our situation, right? So we're smack dab in the middle of a project, trying to roll this out to production. We are in pre-prod, that is one step away from prod for those of you who are not developers in the room. Right? We want to have it locked down, and the bot is not responding exactly as you want it. Otherwise, you can't go to production, of course, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say, look, I got into a car accident, and it says, hey, I like anything built in Motor City. Right? So that was the issue. If we had Rasa X a month earlier, we would have been golden. So
Well,
how did we solve it? How did we solve this? We threw more humans at it. So we had a bunch of interns who were walking in, trying to do this day in and day out, adding questions in different contexts, different ways, so that we could get the training to be, and the training data to be what it was. If we had Rasa X, well, time to market would have been that much better. Thank God for Rasa X.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I think we have time for one last question. So yeah, I just wanted to ask you, where do you see bots going in the next 5 years within your company? Don't know.
Well, I'll be very brief, so sake of the time. So I think that the boundaries between what actually is a bot or a more traditional text bot are going to be blurred. So we see more time, like often integrations with voice and other type of communication channels. So I think like the brains behind the bot will sort of evolve with it and remain the same. but the way you communicate with the bot and the actions that all the flexibility that it can offer is going to be the interesting point.
Cut out any repetitive action. If you have a sales support model, that would have been driven by a bot. If you have an HR support model where they look at all the documents and say, hey, this document is not there, go back, that would be driven by a model, right? Marketing people looking at and bringing back data from, let's say, LinkedIn about your customers and what their profile should be and build a persona, that would be driven by a model. All of this driven through Rasa. That's where I see it going.
Yeah, for us, some of the plans as an IT team is to, again, make it more conversational. We've gotten to where we can track context and give responses based on context, but we want to push it forward, make it more conversational. Since it is a logged in experience, we know who the user is, so we want to kind of offer up suggestions that are personalized for that logged in user. Say if they have a payment coming, hey, you have a payment coming, do you want to go ahead and pay that now? Then let them go through and pay their premium. Or if they, search for flu shots in the past, say, hey, the flu shots are coming up. Here's a couple of places you can go get the flu shot. Things like that. So making it more conversational is our goal coming up in 2020.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to continue working with you all on these use cases. I think that's all the time we have. So thanks a lot for being on this panel with me. And
Thank you.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can find us afterwards.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.